this thing about 1,000 blows and this thing about being knocked down and getting back up and what that looks like for a man like Hezekiah, who at the start of the show is so pure and so kind of naive and so honorable and full of hope.
My name is Hezekiah Moscow, and I am here to fight like my people are watching.
Ready for more, ready for more.
Very excited to talk to both of you. I know with any Stephen Knight series, I kind of have an idea that to expect the unexpected. He's going to show us something from a historical period, but give it to us in a different light. And Stephen, starting with you, you've played characters along the same vein as this character that have been in, don't want to say like, the criminal underworld or different side of the law, but this is a unique character. There's so much more nuance, I think, than a lot of characters you've played in the past. What was it like kind of inhabiting the character of Sugar?
That's a fantastic observation. Thank you. It was great for me personally. Look, Sugar's a million miles away from Stephen himself. So for me to kind of get into the skin and get into the psychology and the world of that man was fantastic. Especially for me at the very beginning, trying to transform and create myself physically to make myself look like a fighter. A bare knuckle fighter. A kind of brute of a man. For me to begin that process, I started 6 months before we actually shot to try and get myself into that physical condition. And then for me, it was kind of like, I very much, as a man, I wear my heart on my sleeve, do you know what I mean? Whereas somebody like him, he kind of has a kind of twisted stoicism about him, do you know what I mean? He's a man of few words. And he's also wrapped up in kind of, when we meet Hezekiah, that kind of jealousy and envy, do you know what I mean, that he has towards this man, all because of what he perceives as a relationship with Mary. And we get to, it was really nice to be able to kind of play that, do you know what I mean? Because you very rarely get to get your teeth into that kind of stuff, do you know what I mean? So for me, it was just a huge honor and a great joy to play. And the fact that all three of these central characters were actual real people. I think 90% of our entire cast were actually people who lived. Do you know what I mean? So in that respect as well, they're not true stories, but you kind of throw it up in the air and let it land where it may. And it's that kind of, what if these people walk past these streets at these particular times? And that's where the joy and the beauty of Steve Knight's writing comes into it. He created this wonderful world for us to immerse ourselves into, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the three main characters, these are all phenomenal because they're so different from one another. These are stories we don't always get to see told in this manner. And I got to say, Hezekiah Moscow is one of the coolest names anybody could get to play as a character. And
right?
Malachi, for you, this character I knew from the moment, first scene in the first episode, I'm like, this is a character I'm going to enjoy watching. And not to give anything away, by the 6th episode, like I was, both of your characters, like gut punched with the emotional journey this goes on. What was it like for you playing Hezekiah, kind of knowing what this arc was going to be and what this character was going to have to endure over these episodes?
It was an honor, honestly, and it was such a joy, and it was so exciting for me because there's always something to do. Do you know what I mean? Stephen Knight has did a wonderful job of creating a character that is thinking. Do you know what I mean? And it sounds like a really simple thing, but it's not a lot at the time that I get to do that. Sometimes most of the time I have to create that for myself, but it's on the page. This is someone who's not just present in a moment, but he's thinking outside of that moment about other things going on. And so it's a joy to play that kind of arc, and to be able to kind of, because you say that, there's this journey he goes on over the 6 episodes, but I didn't necessarily know the fullness of that journey when I started filming. I only get, a few episodes at a time. But that being said, this thing about 1,000 blows and this thing about being knocked down and getting back up and what that looks like for a man like Hezekiah, who at the start of the show is so pure and so kind of naive and so honorable and full of hope, and what it looks like to try and protect that for as long as possible and endure through the circumstances that he's in, not just when he arrives to London, to be honest, but what he's had to endure from his childhood, what we see in those flashbacks. It was a great honor to play that.
Well, it's a phenomenal show. I really appreciate your time today, Steven. I definitely think that Sugar could hold his own against Brad Pitt and Snatch. You got ripped for this role. Really awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for clicking on our video, everybody. If you like what you saw here, please make sure you like the video and subscribe and share with your friends who like this sort of content. JoBlo remains an independent company, and we appreciate all of your support.